"What a beauty you are, Piper," smiled Tess, fixing a loose lock of hair and taking a step back, smiled, looking at the bride. "Thank you, my friend," Piper said, scrutinizing her reflection in the mirror. She had to forego the lush wedding dress. At 36, she would have looked ridiculous in it, but this delicate cream-coloured dress suited her extremely well. The silhouette accentuated her figure, and the colour warmed her pale skin. "Come on, smile. Why are you so gloomy? I thought you'd be glowing with happiness," Tess said. "When I was waiting for Jack, I couldn't sit still." A shadow crossed Piper's face. Their gazes met, and for a moment, tension hung in the room. Piper felt awkward, looking into Tess's eyes. She brushed an imaginary speck off the table and stepped back to the window. Tess's first husband, Jack, had run away when she got pregnant, claiming he wasn't ready for fatherhood, and Piper had played a significant role in that family drama. "Forgive me, Piper began, but Tess waved her hand cheerfully, dismissing the past. "Today is your day. Everything will be fine. You deserve the best." Piper nodded. "Why am I so sour?" she thought. "It's my wedding day. I should be happy, but I'm sad. Is this what I dreamed of? What I planned for my life? Houston is a good man, but he's a simple worker. Not tall, not handsome. What am I saying? I can't be picky at my age. I love him. He's kind and there's no line of suitors after me. I should take what I can get." A few minutes later, the women went down to the entrance. Houston, Piper's future husband, stood by the car smoking. Seeing Piper, his eyes widened in admiration and he smiled. Something warmed in the bride's chest. "Houston isn't a bad man. Maybe we'll have a good family. Mum and Dad would be happy for me now. He's the kind of man they'd want for me." Her parents had died 10 years ago in a tragic accident. At the ceremony venue, Houston's parents and a small group of guests awaited the bride and groom. After the ceremony, everyone went to a small restaurant on the embankment. Piper caught her new husband's admiring look. "So what if he's a simple labourer? He's handy. He earns good money and loves me. Who knows? Maybe tomorrow everything will change. Rome wasn't built in a day." Tess was genuinely happy for her friend, offering toasts and encouragement. At some point, Piper felt embarrassed, remembering an unpleasant incident from their past. Of course, her friend had long forgiven her, and Piper had noticed how Tess's eyes shone when she looked at her current spouse, who kept glancing at her. As the evening ended and guests began to leave, the hot July evening gave way to a starry sky, enveloped in an intoxicating coolness. "Wait a second," Houston said as he opened the apartment door and scooped up a startled Piper. "What are you doing?" she laughed. "Put me down." "It's tradition. I have to carry you over the threshold." Piper felt amused by her husband's romantic gesture, but that was typical Houston, now her lawfully wedded husband. They'd met at her college friend's birthday party. Houston was her friend's brother's buddy, and also a guest. Houston had asked Piper to dance, shown interest in her all evening, and then offered to walk her home. At first, Piper thought Houston was just a fling. She had been dating Michael then, considering marriage, but he was in no hurry to propose. Later, she discovered Michael had been happily married all along. "My love, today is the happiest day of my life," Houston said, hugging Piper before bed. "Let's go to sleep. I'm exhausted," Piper murmured, turning off the nightlight. And so began their married life. Piper and Houston decided to live in his apartment and rent out the one she'd inherited from her parents. Piper told her friends how her husband carried her in his arms, and it was true. Houston did everything for his beloved, even washing dishes after dinner when Piper was tired from work. "You're so lucky. Houston is a treasure. Take care of him," Tess would say. But Piper only sighed more. Something was lacking. Perhaps her sadness stemmed from the gap between her expectations and reality. Since childhood, Piper had believed her husband would be special. Her mother often told her growing daughter, "You're my clever, beautiful girl. Your husband will be rich and successful. A perfect match." Her parents spoiled their only daughter, giving her only the best, and she grew up believing she deserved more. Piper's father didn't interfere in her upbringing, busy working to provide for his girls. As Piper grew up, she had no luck with guys. No one seemed promising or worthy enough. She had romances, not wanting to refuse dates or admiring looks. Besides, other girls envied her popularity among guys. It was far more pleasant than receiving yet another bouquet of roses from yet another admirer. Piper changed suitors like gloves, becoming increasingly convinced that there was no worthy one. No one with whom she could walk hand in hand for life. Her friends were getting married and having children, while she remained alone. She was pressured to choose, yet no candidate met her requirements. Her friends often said she was too picky. "If you want to be a general's wife, marry a private," they told her. "I just don't want to waste my time," Piper replied. And then that bad story unfolded. Piper always thought of Tess as a grey mouse. How could she not? She outshone her. The girls studied in the same course and spent a lot of time together. Piper benefited from this friendship. Tess excelled in exact sciences and readily helped her friend with tests and term papers. Tess enjoyed being close to the star of the course. Piper never saw her friend as a rival. After graduating, Tess met Jack. She had gotten a job at a small trading firm where he had worked for several years as a sales manager. Tess took her time introducing her friend to Jack, and Piper felt it was because of Tess's worrying that the guy would like Piper more than her. And then finally seeing Jack, Piper was speechless. A tall blonde with a Hollywood smile didn't fit her image of Tess's boyfriend. Why did this grey mouse get such happiness? How could he even notice Tess? Short, overweight, dressed tastelessly. Tess barely used makeup and dyed her hair in a copper shade that didn't suit her at all, while she, Piper, spent so much time on her appearance, yet she was still alone. The young woman was outraged to the core by the unfairness of this world, but after learning about Jack's earnings and prospects, she completely lost her peace. Her friend's fiancé became incredibly attractive to her. When visiting mutual friends, Piper always asked if Tess and Jack would be there. If so, she took extra care in choosing her outfit. However, it was frustrating that her efforts had no effect. Jack only had eyes for Tess. After the wedding, Tess annoyed Piper even more. She talked endlessly about her wonderful husband, his successes and plans. Meanwhile, Piper was going through a rough patch. Having rejected a hapless programmer from work, she kept waiting for her Prince Charming, but no one came. Soon, Tess got pregnant. For some reason, Piper began visiting her friend more often. Perhaps she secretly rejoiced at Tess's changing figure. Pregnancy didn't flatter her. The young woman suffered from edema, dressing in shapeless clothes. After such visits, Piper would admire her slender figure for a long time. She couldn't imagine ever being pregnant herself. "Maybe I should forget about pregnancy," she thought. "Why make such a sacrifice? I'd rather live for myself than be an incubator. All Tess talks about now are diapers and cradles. It's really boring." One evening, Jack offered to walk Piper to the cab. Piper had spent a long time at her friend's house. As soon as Tess closed the door behind them, Jack opened up. "Piper, you're friends with Tess. Do something. It's unbearable. She only talks about the baby. We used to discuss everything, but now everything has changed." Piper caught the troubled look in Tess's husband's eyes. "Don't worry. It'll get better. It's just hormones, you know." "You have no idea how much I need a break from all this," the man replied. Well, if you like, we could go out on Friday evening, Piper suggested, surprised at her own words. Jack looked at his wife's friend carefully, then nodded. Why not? I suppose I'm entitled to a little respite? After meeting at the cafe, Jack and Piper saw each other again. Soon their meetings became regular. Tess began complaining to her friend that Jack stopped giving her the attention she deserved. He blamed it on work. Meanwhile, the relationship between Jack and Piper intensified. Piper felt guilty, but it was so pleasant to be with a successful, nearly perfect man. As for her friendship with Tess, no worries. That's how life works. Some lose, others get lucky. A couple of months later, Tess gave birth to a son. Soon after, Jack left the family. He simply packed his things and left, saying nothing to his mistress or wife. However, rumours reached Tess. She discovered Jack's infidelity, and the women stopped communicating. 5 years passed. Piper didn't seek out Tess. Why would she? Her betrayal was hardly forgivable. But Tess herself suddenly reached out on social media. Piper, I blamed you for a long time, but my psychologist helped me understand. Life doesn't stand still. We need to learn to forgive and forget what's unnecessary. What happened, happened. Maybe we can reconnect. Piper didn't object. By her 30s, she suddenly realised that apart from Tess, she had never truly connected with anyone else. She had female acquaintances, but no real friends among them. Then Tess got married again. The girls from Piper's work also tied the knot. Piper found herself wondering more and more often about her next steps. That's when Houston entered her life. He wasn't perfect, but he loved her sincerely and was ready to carry her in his arms. Family life satisfied Piper, and she allowed herself to love. Better a husband like this than no husband at all, she reasoned. Only Tess knew Piper's true feelings. You see, everything seems fine, but it's not what I dreamed of. The only thing that really suits me is our life in bed, Piper admitted. Piper, Houston is a wonderful man. He loves you. Yes, I know he does, but he wants children, Piper said dejectedly. And you? I don't want any. It's such a hassle. No, it's definitely not for me. Tess just shrugged. You know, you have a strange ideal in your head. Do such men even exist? Maybe you should appreciate what you have and stop dreaming about a prince on a white horse, eh? Meanwhile, Houston renovated their apartment with his own hands, doing a wonderful job. For the first time, Piper looked at her husband with different eyes. Who knows? Maybe he's not so bad after all. Maybe I can make a real man out of him yet. Then she took the initiative. Houston, she said at dinner, why don't you start your own business? Piper, what are you thinking now? I like working with my hands. I don't have the entrepreneurial spirit. What kind of businessman would I be? Houston waved his hand dismissively. Just think about it. You could start making good money, she persisted. He earned well, of course, but Piper felt he should try harder. A year later, Houston got a promotion, and his salary increased. But to Piper it still wasn't enough. Her husband could earn even more. He's not ambitious at all. At his age, others have millions in their accounts, but he's neither here nor there, Piper complained to Tess. She sighed tiredly. He carries you in his arms, treats you like a queen, but you're ungrateful, Piper, complaining about him. One day, Tess called Piper with an unusual proposal. Listen, friend, I know a woman who once helped me a lot. Helped you with what? I don't understand. Just listen and don't interrupt, Tess said over the phone. She reads cards. I didn't believe it either, but she told me everything accurately. She told me about my ex and my current partner. She even described his appearance exactly, and spoke over water to ensure everything would come true. Piper listened to her friend and thought, what if? If she helped Tess, maybe she'll help me too. Piper, what have you got to lose? No one's going to bite you. You'll talk to her calmly. She doesn't charge much. And what if she tells you how your Houston can succeed in life? Piper's eyes lit up. This was her chance. Although it seemed foolish to trust a fortune-teller, she decided to give it a try. Tess gave her friend the fortune-teller's number. Her name was Nicole. Piper liked the fortune-teller's voice, low, husky and soothing. "Are you calling on Tess's recommendation?" the woman asked immediately. "Yes." "Good. What's troubling you?" "My relationship with my husband," Piper blurted out. "We'll need to look into that. I'll try to help you." After scheduling an appointment, Piper put down her smartphone and thought, what have I come to? This is crazy. The appointment with the fortune-teller was scheduled for the next day, and at night Piper couldn't sleep, tossing and turning, sighing and glancing at her watch repeatedly. "Honey, are you feeling sick?" Houston inquired solicitously. "No, there's an inspection at work. It's so annoying," Piper said. "You go to sleep. I have to get up early tomorrow." The next day, the woman excused herself from work. She had to get everything done before her husband came home. By afternoon, Piper was already home, with Nicole due to arrive at 3 o'clock. Piper was nervous, unable to settle down from excitement. At exactly 3 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Nicole turned out to be quite a modern young woman, contrary to Piper's preconceived notions of what fortune-tellers should look like. She ushered her guest into the kitchen. Nicole took out a worn deck of cards from her bag and began to shuffle them slowly. "I see much without cards," Nicole said, scrutinizing Piper. "You deserve more than this, girl. You're not in your place now. Your path has been blocked, and you're struggling." Piper nodded, sitting down on a stool. This was not how she had pictured her life. "And you live with the wrong man," Nicole summed up, looking at the layout. "Look, here's the Jack of Diamonds. That's your husband. And here's the King of Diamonds." "You know where the Jack is and where the King is," Piper nodded, gazing at the shabby faces of the cards. "Your husband isn't your fate." Nicole shook her head. "You haven't waited for your king, but he will appear soon. He'll shower you with gold and carry you in his arms." "How will I recognize him?" Piper inquired. The fortune-teller grinned. "Don't worry, he won't pass you by. But as long as you're with Jack, all this is empty." "What do you mean?" the woman asked, alarmed. "Your husband is no match for you, but he's with you. The king will look at you and go away. This king is your last chance. Otherwise, you'll spend your whole life with the Jack." "What should I do? Get a divorce?" Piper gasped. Nicole gathered the deck from the table. "That's for you to decide." "I felt I was improper, and you've confirmed it." "I understand. It's okay. Your destiny is in your hands." After saying goodbye to the fortune-teller, Piper pondered her situation. Tess didn't lie. Nicole said everything right. I am worthy of the best, and I married a labourer. I was in a hurry, but soon I'll have a king by my side. Isn't that wonderful news? Later that day, Houston asked his wife over dinner, "You're cheerful today. Is everything all right at work? How was the inspection?" "Yes, everything is fine," smiled Piper, and added to herself, "and soon it will be even better." Since she had a happy new life ahead of her, she needed to prepare for it in the best possible way. Piper got a new fashionable haircut and renewed her wardrobe. One warm April evening, she decided to take a walk after work and go shopping. Piper smiled at her reflection in the store window and walked towards the shopping centre. Suddenly, while standing at an intersection, waiting for the green light, she felt someone's palm on her shoulder. "Miss, didn't you drop this?" Piper turned around. Behind her stood a tall man in an expensive coat, smelling of pleasant cologne. He was holding out an umbrella to her. "Here you go. I've been running after you to give it to you." "No, that's not my umbrella." Piper fixed her hair and smiled. "I know." The stranger spread his hands. "I noticed you by chance and couldn't help but come over to meet you. The umbrella was just an excuse." Piper felt a pleasant thrill. Well, if he's the king of diamonds, what if Nicole's prediction is starting to come true? Piper assessed the value of the man's coat and watch, but said aloud, "I'm not in the age of getting acquainted on the street." "What are you, 25? Piper didn't hide her age. Why should she? She was well into her 30s. "I thought you were much younger than me. Turns out we're the same age. I'm 38 too." The man extended his hand to her. "My name is Ron." "Piper," the woman introduced herself. "Would you like to have coffee with me?" Piper hesitated for a moment. It wasn't proper for a married woman to have coffee with a stranger she'd just met. But Nicole's words echoed in her mind. She liked Ron very much. He was so similar to the ideal man she had always imagined. No, she couldn't let a man like this slip away. Ron turned out to be a great conversationalist. He joked a lot, made Piper laugh, and told her about himself. It turned out he had his own company in construction field. The woman liked this. His own business, not working for somebody else. That's what a man should be. Unluckily, her Houston chose to spend the rest of his life at his factory. When the coffee was ready, Ron paid for both of them, adding a few more points to his score in Piper's heart. "May I walk you out?" offered the new acquaintance. "No need." Piper declined, but gave him her phone number. The man wrote down the number in an expensive leather notebook and, smiling, suggested they meet again. When Piper got home, Houston came out of the kitchen to greet her. "Oh, Piper, you're back. Finally. How was your day? I'm cooking dinner." There was a pan of frying cutlets on the stove. The woman wrinkled her nose. "You could have ordered sushi." "I didn't even think of that," Houston replied. "I just wanted potatoes and cutlets." "It's fine." Piper smiled at her husband, and her thoughts were far away. "Wow, what a man fate has sent me," Piper mused, her head in the clouds all evening. She daydreamed about vacationing with Ron in Italy, looking for a small house there, and buying a new spacious modern apartment, the kind she had always dreamed of. Her only worry was how little she knew about Ron. What if he was married and occasionally dated women, feeding them lies? But Piper dismissed the thought, believing a serious businessman wouldn't engage in such nonsense. Besides, judging by his clothes and shoes, he was clearly well off. Ron called on Monday. After agreeing on the place and time to meet, Piper pondered her next move. What will I tell my husband? I could lie about going shopping but not finding anything. He's unlikely to verify that information anyway. Dinner with Ron was nearly the highlight of Piper's year. He behaved like a true English gentleman, offering pleasant compliments. As she sipped her wine and smiled, she felt utterly happy. She had thought she'd never again feel those proverbial butterflies in her stomach, but looking at Ron, she felt like a young girl in love. Upon opening her front door, Piper heard the television. Houston stepped into the hallway, and she wrinkled her nose. He's in his sweatpants and stretchy t-shirt again. How many times have I told him to dress properly at home, not in clothes unfit for public? "Piper, I was worried. Why didn't you answer your phone?" Houston asked anxiously. "Did something happen?" Why must something have happened? The woman hung her raincoat and removed her boots. "I just forgot to turn on my phone's sound." "I was about to call the police." Houston approached and peered into her eyes. "Are you sure you're okay?" Piper quickly brushed past her husband toward the bathroom, not wanting him to smell the wine. Just tired. I'm going to shower and go to bed. As Piper began seeing Ron more frequently, Tess noticed the change. You're glowing from within. You've met someone, haven't you? I have an admirer, Piper announced happily to Tess. No way, Tess gasped. What are you going to do? Get a divorce? I don't know, Tess. He hasn't offered anything serious yet. 3 months passed. Piper fell in love with Ron, and he reciprocated. Houston began to suspect something, but Piper didn't care. She sensed Ron was about to suggest taking their relationship to the next level. He knew Piper was married, but wasn't bothered by this fact. Piper had told him a heartbreaking story about her husband, claiming that he had been cheating on her for a long time, and that they had long lived as mere neighbours, not spouses. Feelings faded so quickly, but what can you do? Daily life becomes routine, she told Ron sadly. And it's scary to be alone. I'm not young enough to start over. How can a woman like you fear loneliness? Ron asked, surprised. You should have crowds of admirers. Don't tell me I'm your only one. I won't believe it. Piper was happy, but her husband Houston was the only obstacle to a new life. He acted as if nothing were happening, though Piper could tell from his eyes that he suspected she was seeing someone. This only diminished her respect for him. A real man wouldn't behave like this, she thought. He'd make a scene, slam the door. But what does he do? He waits, hoping it will all work out and that I'll return to be a model wife. But everything came to a head when Piper lied about working late and went to a cafe with Ron. As they were sat holding hands, she suddenly heard her husband's voice. So this is where you work? Houston stood near their table, his eyes burning with anger. Let's go outside and talk, he said quietly. I don't want to cause a scene here. Who's this? Ron asked in surprise. Your husband? So, you didn't even tell him about me, Piper. Fine, let's go, or I might lose control. Ron stood up. He was almost a head taller than Houston, and Piper had a sudden thought. How did I ever agree to this marriage? Why couldn't I have waited a few years for someone like Ron? The men headed for the exit. Piper quickly paid and followed, fearing a fight. But the men just stood talking near the entrance, their postures and expressions indicating an unpleasant conversation. Piper hesitated, catching only fragments of their exchange. Suddenly, Houston moved quickly toward her. She flinched, pulling her head into her shoulders. Who knows what he might do? Will he hit me? But he only looked at his wife silently, then sneered through clenched teeth. Tomorrow you may leave my apartment. We're divorcing, and just so you know, I really loved you. Piper didn't even notice how Ron appeared next to her. How are you? She began to tremble. She'd been contemplating divorce for a while, but she wished it hadn't happened like this. Guilt gnawed at her, yet she wondered, was it really her fault? I'm okay, Piper murmured, leaning into Ron. Will you stay with me tonight? I'm scared. I live in his apartment. He bought it before we married. I'm sorry, honey, but I can't be tonight, Ron replied. Piper looked at him bewildered. What? What do you mean? You should move out. I'll come see you later, okay? I can call you a cab. Are you serious? Piper couldn't believe her ears. Would he really abandon her in this situation? I'm sorry, sweetheart, Ron repeated. Another time. I won't impose. So shall I call that cab? Ron escorted Piper to the car, asking her to call upon arriving home. Oddly, he didn't answer when she did. The woman gave her tenants a week's notice and temporarily moved in with Tess. It's for the best, Tess said. You didn't love him anyway. You just wanted comfort. Why torment a man you no longer love? I suppose you're right. Piper didn't think she'd been tormenting Houston. On the contrary, she believed he should have been grateful for her attention and fought to keep her. If he'd missed his chance, that was his fault. Sooner or later he'd realise that. She'd given him an opportunity, and he'd squandered it. Yet something unsettled Piper. Ron's calls grew less frequent, from daily to every few days. Their dates became scarce. She attributed it to stress, noticing her appearance had suffered. She was certain that once she pulled herself together, Ron's interest would rekindle, and he'd surely propose. After all, didn't he realise this all happened because of him? Because of him, she'd lost her husband. Imperfect as he was, still a husband. As an honourable man, Ron owed her his support. When the divorce was finalised, she informed Ron. "I'm a free woman now," she said wistfully. "That's what we wanted, right?" he replied cryptically. "How about we meet this week? Say Saturday? Now we can see each other on weekends." "Well, at least there are some benefits," Piper smiled. "I'm in." "Great. And be prepared. I have a surprise for you." Piper's spirits lifted. What could this surprise be? Surely he plans to propose. He must have been waiting for me to be single. He's probably chosen an expensive ring. Piper imagined flaunting it to Tess, picturing her friend's envy. That Saturday, Piper arrived at Ron's chosen cafe. She looked stunning, and knew it. New dress, styled hair, subtle makeup. It felt good to dress up for someone. Ron was already there sipping coffee. "Hi," Piper purred, crossing her legs to reveal a hint of lace stocking. "I missed you." "Hello," Ron replied, eyeing her thoughtfully. "You look lovely." "We're waiting for someone else." He checked his watch. "Just a bit longer." "Someone else?" Piper arched an eyebrow. "Do we need company?" "It's part of the surprise. Coffee?" Minutes later, as their coffee arrived, Tess entered. She waved to Ron, who returned the gesture. Tess approached, sitting beside Ron, across from her friend. "What's happening?" Piper was stunned. "You have no idea," Tess smiled enigmatically. "You'd better explain." Piper gripped her espresso cup so tightly it nearly shattered. "You had a good husband," Tess began abruptly. "I even envied you. Houston was kind, uncomplicated, and loved you deeply. I couldn't fathom out why he loved you so. He deserved someone who'd reciprocate, not just admire herself. And you lost him." "How is that your concern?" Piper snapped. "And why are you here?" Tess glanced at Ron. He nodded slightly and said, "I'm Tess's cousin. You didn't know about me. She asked for help and I couldn't refuse. After the incident with Jack, Tess nearly took her own life. She overdosed on pills. They barely saved her. It was horrific. A week in intensive care after learning about you and him. Her son could have been left motherless because you decided to break up a family. I know you're not solely to blame, but trust me, I had serious male conversation with him too." Tess nodded. "Yes, he even fled town out of fear. Don't misunderstand, Piper. It's not like that. But he wouldn't fare well here, to put it mildly. Now he's living in some village, perhaps even happy. And you? What? Me? Why are you meddling in my life?" "Your life? Why did you come into mine?" Tess grinned. "You know they say karma exists and there's a law of boomerang. If it doesn't work, you have to help fate a little and launch this boomerang in the right direction. We killed two birds with one stone. Houston was freed from you, from the illusion that you're a beautiful person worthy of love. You told me yourself how you treat him like he's nothing. He's worried. I know, and you got what you deserved too. So, Tess, shall we go? I think I did a pretty good job. Ron stood up and bowed elegantly to Piper. Thank you for your time. Tess stood up as well. Piper, you and I are now even. I hope this makes you think a little. And by the way, Nicole played her part perfectly. She said you were easy to deal with. All we had to do was start talking about your uniqueness, about being worthy of more than other people. You haven't changed at all since the college. Ron and Tess walked out of the cafe. Piper unclenched her hand, and the cup fell to the floor, breaking into small shards. The woman looked at the white fragments for a couple of seconds, took a few deep breaths, and then got up and slowly headed for the exit. Piper couldn't remember how she'd gotten home. Had she walked or taken the bus? It was as if it had been erased from her memory. She threw off her coat and collapsed on the sofa, falling into a deep sleep. She didn't want to shower, eat dinner, wash her face. She didn't want to live. Piper woke up in the morning. At first, the events of the previous day seemed like a terrible dream. Her brain desperately clung to this thought. Now, I'll see Houston, and as usual, he'll wish me good morning. But the conversation with Tess and Ron was not a dream. Piper lay still for a while, staring at the ceiling with unseeing eyes. And why should I have all this? Why? I am a beautiful woman. Who knows what she wants? Isn't that what they write about in all those clever psychology books? The main thing is to formulate a wish, and it must surely come true. And I formulated it, to find a man who would be worthy of me. And what did I get? Now I have no rich man, no plans for the future. Only work. Piper realized she had to start her life from scratch. But she was already so old, in her opinion. She spent the next few days at home alone. She cleaned the apartment where the tenants had been living for a long time. It seemed to her that by tidying up, she was tidying up her own soul. When the impromptu mini-vacation was over, Piper returned to work. As expected, her colleagues whispered behind her back, but she tried not to pay attention. Every night when she got home, she sobbed, wrapped herself in a fluffy plaid, and dreamed of going back in time. She would have done everything right, would have dismissed this Ron, would have learned to look at her husband with entirely different eyes. But what could she change now? Piper spent her evenings sitting at her laptop. She browsed endless social media feeds, watched silly videos, and read articles about celebrity life and news. She was barely retaining anything. She needed the information noise to drown out the thoughts in her head. She felt stupid, old, worthless and useless, and she realized that in many ways it corresponded to reality. It was an ordinary evening. Piper was flipping through the news feed as usual when a post in the city's community caught her eye. "Missing child," said the caption, under the photo of a pretty girl with bright blue eyes and brown curls. Just a little girl, about 5 years old, no more. Piper read the post. It turned out that the girl and her parents had gone to their summer house. The mother and father were distracted for a couple of minutes, and she disappeared. A search is underway. Volunteers and anyone else who is keen to join in. The woman reached for the phone and dialed the number on the ad. "Yes, do you have any information on Molly?" a female voice inquired. "No, unfortunately. I wish I could help. I have a car." "Have you been on a search before?" the woman asked. "No, not once." Piper felt her voice shaking slightly. Where was she going? Why? She was about to be laughed at or scolded for distracting people from their work. But that didn't happen. "Ah, write down the address of the coordination centre. If you want and are ready to help, then come and bring our volunteers. Just 3 people are ready to leave, and your help would be useful to them. And can I give them your number?" Piper dictated the number. Soon she received a call from a young man who introduced himself as Philip. He told her where he was so that Piper could take them to the village where Molly had disappeared. Soon Piper left the house. She didn't understand what she was doing or why, but the girl's sweet face and blue eyes never left her mind. Philip was already waiting for Piper at the appointed place, with 2 girls dressed in hiking outfits standing next to him. All the young people had impressively sized backpacks on their backs. She stopped the car and Philip waved in greeting. Piper was surprised. So young, and yet he's involved in the search for missing people? Philip looked no more than 20. The girls, Carol and Sonia, sat in the back seat while Philip settled next to Piper. "Thank you for your help," he smiled. "It's rare for people to agree so easily to go out at night, and we're all without cars." "I don't mind," Piper replied, eyes on the road. "It's a pity about the girl." "Yes, children often go missing," Philip sighed. "We've had searches like that before. A boy ran into the woods and got lost. Our team found him quickly, otherwise he would have frozen." "How long have you been involved in the search?" "I've been doing it for 2 years," Philip said, proudly lifting his chin. "You know, since I started at the college." "About the same for me," Sonia chimed in. "And I got Carol involved." Carol nodded. "Yes, Sonia told me at work how the searches go. I got interested and decided to try once. Now I devote all my spare time to it." Piper was surprised. "Are you joining us too?" Philip asked. "What do you think?" The woman shook her head. "No, I decided to help just this once. It's not my thing. I'm not a hero by nature. I can give you a ride, but I won't go into the woods. I'd get lost, and they'd have to look for me too." The search party headquarters was located in the village school building. Piper drove the volunteers to their destination and decided to stay. Philip suggested she go into the forest with them. They found high rubber boots and an old army jacket that looked awful, but provided excellent protection from the cold. "Stay close to me. Don't lose sight of me under any circumstances. Keep your phone on you. Remember, there are several dozen people around you. Look carefully," Philip instructed Piper. She couldn't believe what she was doing, but when she saw Molly's mother crying, she couldn't refuse. The girl was found 3 hours later, alive and well. It turned out that the little one had seen a beautiful butterfly and chased after it, not realizing how she ended up in the forest. That night changed Piper's life. She decided to become a volunteer with the rescue group. She spent all her spare time attending lectures on the intricacies of searching for people. Twice in the first month, she participated in search. Though she never found anyone herself, the feeling of being involved in something important, something on which someone's life depended, allowed her to distract herself from heavy thoughts. She met new people and was amazed by their stories. There were many like her in the squad, mature adults who had decided to change their lives. Doctors, programmers, engineers, students. Piper was astonished at how many cared about the fate of lost strangers. Several months passed. During another search in the forest for an elderly mushroom hunter, Piper was asked to instruct a new volunteer. "It's the man's first time. Explain everything to him," the coordinator told her. "He's standing by the headquarters." The headquarters was a spacious tent where the coordinators sat. Volunteer cars were pulling up. Some had already left to scour the forest square by square, while others were just about to start their work. When she saw the man standing by the tent, she couldn't believe her eyes. Maybe I'm dreaming. But it wasn't a dream. The new volunteer was Houston. They looked at each other in silence for a while. Piper nervously tucked a strand of hair that had escaped from under her bandana, then with difficulty said, "Hi." "Well, hi." Houston grinned in surprise. "Didn't think we'd meet here." "Yes, it's strange." The woman tried to smile as carefree as possible, but she wanted to turn and run into the woods. "It's unexpectedly. very unexpectedly. They were both silent. Piper was sure Houston wouldn't want to talk to her, but he didn't leave. He just looked at her from under his brow and smiled tensely. "So, are you going to tell me what to do?" the man finally asked. Piper exhaled, the tension gradually releasing her. "Why am I so frightened?" she thought. "After all, currently we're not ex-husband and wife here, separated through my fault. We're volunteers searching for a missing person. We should behave accordingly. We don't need to get into an argument right here." That night, Piper talked to Houston. It turned out he had decided to join the volunteers last month. This was his first search. "How long have you been here?" he inquired. "Almost 6 months." "So, almost right after the divorce, you came here, didn't you?" The woman blushed. It was a good thing the darkness couldn't reveal the colour of her face. "Yeah, that's right," she replied. "All right then, let's go. Remember, every minute is precious." Fortunately, they found the lost mushroom picker quickly. The man was badly frozen, but overall the doctors deemed his condition satisfactory. As a tired Piper was getting into her car, Houston suddenly approached her. "You're doing well," he said. "It's really quite remarkable. Whatever happened in the past, I'm glad to know that you're well." "Thank you. I wish I'd started doing this sooner." "There's a lot to regret." He waved his hand. "But better late than never." Houston turned and walked to his car. The woman stared after him thoughtfully. "Piper, did you forget something?" Philip asked, already seated in her car. No, I didn't forget." She realized her words were practically a pun and smiled. "I haven't forgotten anything." Piper and Houston began to see each other regularly, at meetings, on searches, and during training sessions. To the woman's surprise, he neither avoided her nor brought up her past mistake. But he also didn't single her out among the other volunteers. Piper was a little upset by this, but she knew perfectly well that she shouldn't expect more after what she had done. One day, after another search, Houston asked Piper if she could take him home. "The guy I made arrangements with changed plans. He's going to another city. Something's happened to his brother," he said. "Is it difficult for you?" "No, not at all," Piper replied. The woman turned on the radio. They drove to a quiet tune. Dawn was breaking, and she admired the pink clouds, illuminated by orange rays. "How did I not notice all this before? What was I living for?" she wondered. "It's strange. You live and don't see this beauty," Houston suddenly said. Piper flinched, thinking her ex-husband had read her mind, and she nodded. "Yes, sometimes you don't notice many things." The woman faltered. "You've really changed. Even your eyes look different." "I'm getting old," Piper joked. No, that's not it." Houston rubbed his chin with his overgrown stubble. It always amazed her why he had such thick facial hair, while there was hardly any on his head. "What do you mean?" Piper glanced at Houston. "I don't know myself. It's like you've become more mature or something." "It's about time," the woman laughed. "I'm almost 40. It's time to grow up a little." "You know, I've been thinking for a long time. Or rather," he stopped talking, as if struggling to find the words. "Maybe we could at least try to, well, be friends again?" "Friends?" Piper asked in amazement. "I thought you were supposed to hate me for everything." "You know, I probably should, but it just doesn't seem to be working." Houston smiled sadly. "That's the kind of fool I am." "I'm the one who's a fool," Piper almost whispered. "I should have said this sooner, but forgive me, please, if you can. I'm so sorry." "I'll try, and I even know that I can." The man touched Piper's shoulder. His light touch made her shudder like an electric shock. It's impossible to start over, but we can correct mistakes. Maybe I'll berate myself for it later, but I missed you." The woman stopped the car. Tears filled her eyes. She couldn't see the road in front of her. "I'm sorry, she repeated, crying like a child, dropping her head into her palms. Houston stroked her shoulder and remained silent. After a few minutes, the woman managed to pull herself together. She wiped her tears and, looking into his eyes, quietly said, "I'm ready to try to make up for my mistake." "And I'm ready to try to help you do that," Houston replied.